Hey everyone, this is a video that I get asked to do a lot, and I'm excited to have finally put together this list of the best places to buy samples and decants online in my experience. I'm in the US, but I did check for each of these whether they include worldwide shipping or not so that I can mention that so you don't have to waste time, checking out ones that don't if you're outside of the US. And I'm going to go over kind of like some of the pros and cons of each. There's about 22 or so on this list. All of these ones I've ordered from multiple times myself. There's lots of others out there, and if there's one I don't mention that you're curious about, feel free to ask a question in the comments because I probably ordered from it before and had experience with it. I don't think there's many that have just been like outright terrible, but there's some I didn't include that just, they're either just way too consistently expensive, bad selection, whatever reason. But yeah, let's jump in. These are not totally in order, but I did start kind of with some of my favorites. And yeah, I'm not affiliated with any of these, so there's no monetary or hype with any of these. Just, yeah. First of all, LuckyScent. I talk about this all the time. The pros of this to me are great promos. They have a gift with purchases page. You can find the link in their footer on their site or just Google it. And they have really good deals. Like, there have been times where they've had, promos of something like, say, spend $150, get this sample pack, and the sample pack was literally worth like $150 of like really expensive niche samples. And often there'll only be like a $50 minimum spend, and get like a set of, 4 Wilhelm Parfumerie official 2 milliliter samples and stuff like that. Just all different kinds of stuff. They update it fairly regularly, and there's usually quite a bunch of stuff on there. So yeah, great gift with purchases. Very fast shipping. And when I talk about anything on this list and I'm saying fast shipping, I mean when they get it in the mail. Can't control how fast it will get to somebody, but like in terms of how quickly they package it and get it up. Great customer service. They ship worldwide. They add new scents all the time, and they have free samples with any bottle or candle. Or if you're doing an order that has anything that's besides just samples in it, you get to pick at least 3 free samples. And even more, like if you spend like $300, you get to pick like 6 free samples. But even if you're just buying like a $30 candle, you get to pick 3 free samples. And their samples, some of them are worth $10 each. So you can go look at, and you get to choose which ones you put. So it's really an amazing deal for that. Now, the cons for LuckyScent. One, this might not be a con to everybody, but mainly only niche. There's like a little bit of indie and a handful of designers on there. But if you're not super into niche stuff specifically, they're not going to have as much stuff that you'd want. 2, shipping is $8, even, just for the minimum smallest order. It is free at $75 with a code, but you can't combine the codes usually with them, and usually the gift with purchase codes are way better, in my opinion, than saving $8. So I usually just bite the bullet and pay for the shipping. And then last, I know this bothers a lot of people, their samples are only 0.7 milliliter sample vial sizes. They're priced accordingly. Like, it's not like they're charging $20 for that, and maybe they would if it was like a, $1,000 fragrance or something, but for me, that's not a problem because I have a system where it's like I can tell just from very, very, quickly, maybe not quickly, I need to see the dry down stuff, but like in terms of a very small amount on a test strip or on skin, I don't need a lot to sample with, but I know for a lot of people that's really an issue. So just full disclosure about that, but it is nice that they have samples of every single scent that they sell pretty much. So that's really nice that just anything you're interested on there, you can easily just buy a sample before, worrying about doing a blind buy. 2, ScentSplit. They have a great selection, lots of niche and designer. They get stuff in the mail really quickly, great customer service, free shipping within the US at $70, free shipping worldwide at $150. And I know for some of these, if I say that, it may sound like a lot, like, well, I have to spend $150. But the thing is, these sites have huge selections, some of them, like ScentSplit for sure does, like thousands of, things to choose from. So you could just keep an eye on it. That's what I do, even just to reach the $70 free shipping minimum in the US. I'll keep a cart going in there, and then as I come across stuff and it's like, oh, they have it, I'll add it until I get to that. So I'm pretty sure if you're a little bit patient and keep an eye on stuff in there, you can reach that minimum without too much issue. They have very competitive pricing. They're pretty much on track, like the lowest you can get from any kind of major Decant site. It's usually going to be pretty fairly priced there. They have a section called VIP customers in the top nav menu area if you've bought from them before. Often if you like click that and go to that section, it'll be like custom like 12% off code, and that combines with the free shipping too if you're ordering over 70. And they add new scents regularly, which is nice. I can't really think of any cons about them. They're just pretty rock solid. And, you know, there's certain things like LuckyScent I like better because I like the gift with purchase deals that they always have. But with ScentSplit, I really can't think of any critique that I have. Yeah, they're great. So 3, DecantX. They have very fast shipping, free shipping for all orders in the US. I mean, hopefully people aren't just ordering, you know, like a $4 thing from them, because that would kind of suck. But technically it is, you know, free shipping for anything in the US. They do ship worldwide. It's not free, but great customer service. They have regular promo sales. Every month they pretty much do something like 10% off fall scents, or sometimes it'll just be like a flash sale, 20% off everything. The main con for them to me is, well, I guess there's kind of two. One, their smallest size available for samples is 2 milliliter, which that's pretty small. Well, this is like 1.5 milliliters, but so it's not like that's huge, but personally I like to try to buy ones that are like 1 milliliter or smaller, because like I've said, I don't need that much to test it personally. That's probably not a problem for most people, though. I know a lot of people want to have at least 2 milliliters, so just a heads up though, because it does, I buy so many samples that would really add up if I were to try to get 2 milliliter size minimums for everything I was trying. But so to me that's a bit of a con, but yeah, they're very reliable, great overall. The only other kind of con is they don't maybe have quite as huge of a selection as some of these other ones like ScentSplit or whatever, but they have something for everyone on there, I think, for the most part. 4, SurrenderToChance. Fast shipping, great combination of selection between designer, niche, and indie, and they're kind of one of the rare big sample decant sites that also has like a big indie section. A lot of places don't have indie fragrances like that. They ship worldwide. Cons, they do have a sign-up promo. I think it's like sign up for the newsletter, get 10% off your first order or something like that, but other than that, they pretty much never have any promos. So, and there's like no way to get free shipping even with a high minimum as far as I know, or anything like that. But yeah, great selection, and they definitely have some that can be a bit difficult to find other places. 5, ThePerfumedCourt. They ship worldwide. No free shipping really for the most part, I think, but if you Google, you know, like Retail Me Not and those type of sites and look up ThePerfumedCourt, they sometimes have promo codes that are like spend $150, get like 8% off, which obviously isn't the deal of the century, but I'll take what I can get. Other pros, there are a lot of fragrances they have samples of that pretty much no one else online has samples for sale of, so that's really nice. Big selection of kind of everything from like vintage classic ones to like brand new niche and designer releases. They also, this is something I personally really appreciate, they have really small sample sizes available too. Then they have plenty to choose from, you know, going up to probably like 10 milliliters or something. But for some of them, they also have as low as 0.25 milliliter sample vial. Say it's like $1,000 fragrance. Maybe I just really, really want to just smell it once, and I don't even necessarily think I'm going to love it or something, but I just really want to try it. I do not want to pay for a bigger one. Like I love that I can just get a tiny, tiny amount and just be like, okay, yeah, that's what that smells like. Cons, yeah, they don't really have promos or free shipping ever. Again, sometimes they do like at $150 or higher, they'll do like the 8% off type thing, and kind of clunky website. It's not buggy for the most part, I would say, at all really. It's just kind of like not the most modern looking and not the easiest to sort of find what you're looking for necessarily without using the search. But yeah. Next, the subreddit for FragranceSwap, reddit.com/r/FragranceSwap. Tons of stuff you can't get anywhere else, because people, a lot of them are decanting their own bottles and stuff, so it might be stuff that there aren't even normally samples sold for. Great deals, really friendly people in my experience. There's a rating system with a bot and stuff to keep everybody reliable, so people have to rate each other, so it's pretty unlikely that you would get scammed on there. I've done probably 150 or more transactions on there. I've never once had, I don't think, an issue with anybody like lying or scamming, either as a buyer or a seller. Cons, really, you'll have to sift through a bunch of like threads to find the good stuff, and I don't think there's a way to filter just by decants, but the title will have whether it's decant or bottle thread in the title. One of the requirements for the posting on there is like you have to say at the end in parentheses like if it's decants or bottles that you're selling. But so much of it is bottles that sometimes if you're just looking for decants, it can be a little bit frustrating, like okay, yep, or like things where someone's only selling like 5 decants total, which there's nothing wrong with that, but when you're like looking for a good selection and stuff, yeah, you kind of have to dig through stuff to find stuff, but there's some really good stuff on there for sure. Next, Perfume, perfuum.com. They have regular promo sales. They ship worldwide and the US. You can request scents and they'll often add it. Like there was a Lacoste one that I wanted to try that nobody had samples of, and Lacoste isn't as big in the fragrance world anymore, so I I was pretty sure nobody was going to get samples of it. So I emailed them because I had seen them say, oh, email us if you want to send. I didn't think they'd really add it because if I'm the only person asking for it, but they did. They did really quickly too. So, and they get new stuff when it comes out pretty quickly, especially for like designers and stuff like that. Cons, same with the DecantX situation where 2 milliliters is the smallest size. Might not be a con to most people, but to me, I prefer to be able to buy even smaller than that. And then they don't have as big of a selection as some places, but there's still tons to choose from. It's just not quite like, say, ScentSplit or LuckyScent type of level. Next up, FragrancesLine. Free US shipping over $100. They also do worldwide shipping. They sometimes have promo sales, or you can look on, like promo code websites or whatever and find some. I think usually for like $100 or more, get whatever percent off or free shipping or something. They definitely have some fragrances that can be hard to find elsewhere. Not as much as, say, somebody like ThePerfumedCourt or something like that, but there's definitely some that I'll look up a sample for sometimes and they'll be the only one who have it. They have very competitive pricing along the lines of ScentSplit. I would say stuff is pretty much always the exact same price on both of those, and those are on the most fair end of kind of any of the big decant sites. Cons, they don't seem to add new scents that often. Not that big a deal, but at this point I've tried so many things that a lot of what I'm interested in getting samples of is often stuff that's just like newer coming out. So yeah, I don't order from them quite as much as other ones, but I've ordered from them many times and they've always been really reliable and good. Next, MinistryofScent. This is also a store that's in San Francisco, but they also ship online. They have samples of every scent that they sell bottles of, so that's really awesome. They're in 1.5 milliliter sprays. That's really nice. No dab or vials. Really good prices. Usually the samples are $5 each, no matter if it's a really expensive scent or not. So really good deal. Great customer service. I thought I was ordering I was doing like a big sample order, and I thought one of the things I was getting was a sample, but I accidentally ordered a full size of it. And I would have totally understood if they were like, because there were certain things where they don't accept returns for it. Like, that's my bad. I didn't expect them to automatically take it back, but I contacted them. They were so understanding. They, when I mailed it back, then it got lost in the mail somehow. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand, that I won't get a refund for it. And they were like, no, we'll take the loss, whatever, like, stuff happens. And it ended up getting shipped back to me, which is, I was able to resend it to them. But yeah, love their customer service, really friendly. They also have free samples and free shipping in the US with orders over $75. Cons, US only. Sorry, worldwide people. Ministry of Scent is US only. Shipping, mainly niche, not really any designer or indie, but they do have some brands that are hard to find other places of. But yeah, if you're not into the specific type of niche brands they have, you're not going to find what you want. And then this is nitpicky a bit on my part, but their cart cache empties really frequently. And what I mean by that is, say, you go to a site, you add stuff to the cart, you leave, and then maybe you come back next week and you want to add more stuff and you kind of have your draft of a cart going. For example, on the ThePerfumedCourt, I've probably had like a month, 2 months or more, like in between doing orders, and it's never once expired. But on Ministry of Scent, I feel like it's set to do that pretty often. So it'll be like, I have a cart going, and then 3 days later I come back and I lose everything that I had in the cart, and now I don't like remember what I had in there anymore and stuff. So that's, not the end of the world, but for me it is a con. Next, Perfumology. This is a family-owned retail boutique in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They have great customer service, and of any of these, I say if it's a store too, like they sell online. That's what I'm talking about with these. Great customer service. They often include free samples in the orders. They have samples of every bottle that they sell. Love when places are like that. And then, because there's so many things where it's like there's only bottles available, and it's really frustrating to not be able to find a sample because I don't do blind buys anymore. So cons, I think they're US only. For those worldwide, that's not an option. The main way to browse is by brand, like Fragrance House. So it's not as good for finding stuff if you're looking up like, I want something with a strawberry and hyacinth notes or accords or whatever. But if you kind of know what you like about certain brands or whatever, then they have a lot of good stuff. Next up, I think this is a newer one, and it's pretty much just run by one person, I think, but I've had great experiences ordering from them. NorCalScents, free shipping in the US for orders over $20. I don't think they ship worldwide. Great prices. They often have stuff marked off too and on sale. Good selection of newer designer scents, along with other designers, along with niche, and sometimes new niche ones too. But I noticed, they tend to get, good new designer ones pretty quickly. Good promos. They have a lot of like sale promo codes and whatever. Fast shipping. The only real con for them to me is they don't have as big a selection as most places, and it's more like designer heavy, though there's still quite a bit of niche and stuff. But yeah, if you can find enough stuff that you like there and you're in the US, to get the free shipping over 20, they have a lot of really good deals on the stuff they have. Next, I never see people talk about this one, but the FragranceVault, they're located in Tahoe, California. They have a shop and they also ship online. They have a lot of interesting ones that other places don't really have. Like, for example, by their fragrance house Neanderthal, I was looking all over for samples and I finally found some there, and I couldn't find them anywhere else. And that's gone for some other kind of more quirky, unique niche brands too. So yeah, I really like their selection. They shipped pretty quick. I think I've only ordered from them twice or so, but they shipped pretty quickly. Like, it was like a nice handwritten note in there and everything. Cons, one, mainly niche focus. So if that's not your taste, then you're going to be a bit limited there. Not as many options as a lot of other decant sites. Those still lots. It's not like, oh, they only have 50 cents to choose from or something. Like, there's probably, yeah, like 1,000 or more, but there's some that still kind of manage to make that look small. And I'm not sure if they ship worldwide. I wasn't able to find anything about that for them. Next, ScentsEvent. Lots of big niche brands and designers. So this isn't someplace to go to really, to find indie, and that's true for most on this list, unless I explicitly say otherwise. And it's also not something like LuckyScent that's going to have, practically like hundreds of different niche brands or something. But for like the big niche brands and designers, yeah, like a lot of stuff on there. They definitely have some scents that are hard to find elsewhere, and they add new stuff that comes out pretty quickly, often quicker than kind of any other sample site. They have big promo sales where it's like, you can go to the website and see they always have it going in the banner there or whatever, like spend this amount, get, this percent off, spend this, whatever, all the way up to like $200 something, you get 30% off, which that's a great deal, but and free shipping in the US over $20. They also ship worldwide. The cons, main way to browse is by brand from what I can see on there. So same thing where like, yeah, if you're looking for something that's a specific type of accord or note, that's not really as doable there. 2, they're a lot pricier for a lot of their stuff than other sites, but I do think that's worth it if you can be patient and just kind of like save your cart, take screenshots of it, because it could get deleted when the cache clears or whatever. So, but yeah, if you like kind of keep a list going of what you want from there and then wait till you have like a lot of stuff to use one of those promo codes that's like 30% off $200, then you can totally get a decent deal. But their prices do tend to be higher than other places if you're not using a promo. Next, Decant Boutique. Interesting combination of niche, designer, and even cheapies, which it is so hard to find samples of cheapies for sale, which is a dumb complaint, I guess, because it's like they're cheap. Like, that's kind of the point, because people would just rather spend $20 than spend $3 for a sample of it. But for me, for a number of reasons, I don't do blind buys anymore. I don't like to have extra full bottles around. The chances that I'm actually going to consider whatever that cheapie is full bottle worthy is very, very small, but I still want to try it. So I like that I can get cheapie samples there as well, which most places don't have. Great prices. They have a rewards program, worldwide shipping. Cons, really just one, but it's a big one. They have so many website loading issues. I don't even think it's just by browser, because I've checked Firefox, Safari, Chrome, Edge, Mac, Windows, like to compare, and it just happens a lot where it's just like you'll get stuck with one of those loading spinners. And yeah, I hope that they can get that fixed at some point. I've seen other people talk about that too, because if you are able to be patient and kind of navigate through it and deal with that and get all the way to checkout and stuff, like they have good selection, they have really good deals and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff that isn't on any other sites. Next, DecantShop. Pros, good sales, and pretty often, especially if you're like on their newsletter, they're like always having like 20% off. There's that. Quite a few fragrances that it is virtually impossible to find samples of anywhere else, or even sometimes ones you can't even find a bottle of anywhere else. Like there's certain older Comme des Garçons fragrances that they have samples, including up to like 10 milliliters of, that you cannot even find like a bottle on eBay of anymore. Free shipping within the US over $100. Free shipping worldwide over $200. Cons, takes forever to ship, and they are not responsive to emails. I don't know if they've gotten a little better about this, but I saw warnings about that, but everybody was like, but you'll get it eventually, so just order. So I was like, okay, like how bad could it be? I believe it took about 6 weeks for them to ship, and I'm in the same country as them. They're in, I think, Illinois. I'm in California, so it shouldn't. And again, this was just even to ship, like to get it in the mail, not even just like, oh, and then it took this time to arrive or whatever. But yeah, so know that going into it, if you're going to order from DecantShop, you could get lucky and you could get it quickly, but it may well take over a month for them to ship. I think you probably will get it eventually, but I would pay through PayPal so you could contest it if it's been 2 months or something and you still haven't gotten it. The other part, the website can be a bit buggy. Like sometimes when you search for something, it'll only show you like the first 15 results for that, even though there should have been a lot more, or just certain other little things like that, but it's not unusable by any means. Next, DecantHouse. They have pretty good prices pretty often. All of their samples, I believe, are spray, no sample vial dabbers, even for the smallest sizes. Cons, not a big selection compared to a lot of the others, mainly kind of big niche and designer. Main way to browse is by brand, so again, not as much of an in-depth browsing by notes or this or that like some of the other sites have. And they only ship within the US and Canada, no worldwide. So for them, I don't order from them often, but it's more just like, say that there's some newer designers that I want to try and they're like the first place that has it. Yeah, I've had good experiences when I have ordered from them. Next, Ajevie. They are indie fragrances only. Great selection of indie fragrances though, like definitely the best, indies, probably the only indie only sample site online. Good prices, small business. Seemed really friendly and good. The business owner's really nice. Cons, takes a long time to ship, but nothing unethical about that because she's very upfront about the turnaround time on the website. So this isn't something like the DecantShop situation or something where it's like, where the hell is the order? Like, what's going on? You can't hear back from them. No, like, it'll be clear that it'll take a while to ship, but that's still obviously a con. Just an FYI. And also, if you're not that into indie fragrances, that's all they have. So that's going to be a con for you. But yeah, I think there's pretty much something for everybody, even within indie. Next, the subreddit for IndieMakeupAndMore, reddit.com/r/IndieMakeupAndMore. Lots of indie scents that are discontinued or hard to find. Good prices, really friendly people. Main con, I would say, is that it's mainly every Sunday there's a thread called like D-Stash or Swap or something like that where people sell stuff from their collections or like decants, and samples of them. And yeah, that's great, but 90% of the stuff you're going to see in that subreddit is not going to be buying and selling opportunities. But if you specifically check that thread on Sundays, a lot of people post, like there's tons of stuff available. And I like to check the subreddit all the time, actually, because I often find out about, good fragrance sample deals on other websites or stuff. Because even though it's called Indie Makeup and More, it's really majority indie fragrance focused. And I didn't look at it for a while until someone told me that. And I was like, oh, really? And then I started following it and it's like, yep, almost everything on there is fragrance related. So it's a good one to follow, but specifically about buying and selling on there, Sunday threads only. Next, Fragnanimous. Free samples with every order, fast shipping. Some fragrances, like a bunch of the older Prin Lomros ones that are just impossible to get elsewhere. So I was really excited. There was like 10 Prin Lomros, under his different brands, that there was just nowhere to get them other than Fragnanimous. So I was so happy to be able to get them. Yeah, lots of free samples with the orders. The main con, I would say, is not a huge selection compared to other sites on the list. But yeah, what they do have is definitely good and sets them apart for those specific categories. And also US only shipping for that one. Next, Etsy. Sometimes you can find samples there that aren't being sold anywhere else. But the con would be it's a very, very limited selection and sometimes they're pricey. But there are a lot of sellers who kind of migrated from eBay to there when eBay cracked down on decant and sample fragrance selling more. So the main way to find good stuff on there is either by looking at the shops of a fragrance house that you're interested in, because some of them like DSH or Riviera Parfums or like certain other ones are some of them are mainly selling on Etsy and you can buy sample sets from there. Or just like one of the ways I often find it, and I'll go into this further at the end of the video of how I go about choosing where to order a fragrance from, is just, like by Googling it or whatever, and then maybe something will show up with an Etsy result that other places didn't have. Next, Mercari. Sometimes you can find samples there that aren't sold anywhere else. It's usually going to be official samples too. Rarely is anybody selling like decanted stuff, which makes it a little bit more trustworthy. In terms of it's like some random you don't know if you could, it's like the official thing, not just like I'm claiming that this decant has whatever. Cons, usually pricey, and it's not like you can choose a bunch of different scents in the same order. Like you'll be lucky if you can find something that has, 5 scents in an order or something, and not as professional service as other sites, obviously, because it depends on the individual seller. You could end up with someone who's like does a crummy job of shipping them or something like that without good packaging. But obviously everybody has reviews, so you can just look at those. Last, or not last, but kind of last, eBay. sure you've heard of it. Sometimes you can find samples there that aren't sold anywhere else at this point. Same with Mercari, where it's basically just the official samples because eBay really cracked down on people selling decants. But eBay samples tend to be so pricey, and it's not like you can usually choose a bunch in the same order. Some sellers do have like a bunch of different ones, but it's not that common. And yeah, a lot of it, what you get out of it's going to depend on the individual seller. I recommend eBay only as a last resort for fragrance samples. I guess that's kind of how I feel about it with other stuff too as well sometimes. But because it's like, yes, they have, sometimes you can find something like a certain Chanel fragrance that it's like impossible to get a sample of, and then somebody will have an official sample for sale in there. But in general, it's just not good price-wise, not good, shipping speed. Like a lot of stuff is just better to order from the Decant sites. So a bonus mention first before I kind of get into like how I decide which one to buy from these. Sephora free samples. So 2 sides to this. And I'll do another video going more in depth on the Sephora stuff too, but they have like their offers section. It has like skincare, hair, makeup, fragrance. They sometimes have really good fragrance things that'll be like, spend $40, get this sample bag of like 10 fragrance samples for free or something crazy like that. And they're like, popular, expensive fragrance brands and stuff. Also in the cart, when you go to the cart and there's like 2 free samples with every order, they often have expensive ass free, and these are official samples. Killian, Tom Ford, like all these different ones that they often have a free fragrance samples of. So what I'll usually do is say that I know there's something that I want from Sephora or whatever. I'll have that in the cart, and then I'll keep an eye on what the free samples in the cart are, and then say that there's a really good deal in the offer section for some free fragrance stuff, and the cart also has like some good fragrance samples for free for the free samples part. I'll pounce on it then and order. You can't be guaranteed to get the free samples because sometimes they're out and they'll throw in another one, but most of the time it comes through for that. So now as for how I decide from, and kind of what my process is for where to buy from and how I landed on this. So my first step whenever I want to try a fragrance is I Google the name of the fragrance and sample. That sounds so obvious, but I swear I've talked to a lot of people who were like, oh, I didn't think about this, about certain things of it. So yeah, like say, obviously this is would not be a hard one to find, but just throwing in a random example, MFK Baccarat Rouge sample. That is going to, because if you're just looking up by the fragrance name, you're mostly just going to get the bottles. And sometimes if you use the word, I've gone back and forth between using decant or sample, but overall I find that sample tends to net a bigger form of result than using the word decant in there. And then looking, it's like a second nature at this point because I do this so often with scents, just like scanning it and checking kind of in order of the ones that I like the most. Like, okay, do I see, oh yeah, LuckyScent has it, boom, okay, adding to the cart. There, add to the draft of my cart. Or, okay, it's on ScentSplit and on FragrancesLine. Let me compare the prices on both and see who has kind of a better promo going if I can reach a certain minimum and things like that. But basically just everything for me starts with Googling the name of the fragrance and sample, even if I've seen it already on a site that I like, because I want to see, is there a better price on somewhere else? Do they have some other aspect of it, or something else that I want in that site and I need to reach a minimum? So that works well for me. And yeah, everything on this list I've ordered from multiple times at least, and I've had, good experiences with. There's other ones like, for example, perfume samples and decants.com, I think that's it, that I've ordered from them. It was fine, but they're just really overpriced. They're always sold out of, I feel like they just like maybe list stuff and they claim they have smaller size ones too, but really they just kind of want to sell the bigger ones because it's like, I swear, like 90% of stuff I check or more is like sold out of all the sizes under 3 milliliters. So yeah, there's other ones like that. And like I said, if you are curious about one, feel free to leave a comment asking about it, and I'll let you know if it's something that I have experience with and if there's a reason that I didn't include it on this list. But these are mine that I like to order samples from. And if you watch any of my other stuff, you probably know that whenever possible, I will put a link in the description to where you can buy a sample of whatever fragrances I'm talking about. So yeah, if you're ever see a video and you think it sounds good to you or something, just click the description, and 99% of the time there's going to be a link to where you can find a sample of that. And so this kind of goes back to what I was saying about choosing how I Google stuff and choose where to buy it from, even if I already know it's on a certain site. And yeah, so for example, say that something is on LuckyScent, but I know I want something, or maybe this would be more relevant to you, whoever's watching this, if you like the bigger sizes, because I liked how I have really small ones. But say that you're one of those people who's like, 0.7 milliliter dabber vial, that's like way too small. Like, I want a bigger one. And my link in the description or wherever you see it, find it, goes to LuckyScent. Just Google the name of that fragrance and sample and see if any of the other ones on this list have that sample, because a lot of times they do. And I'm not like linking in the description to here's every single place that has a sample. I often default to ones like LuckyScent, because then I can just link buy a bottle /sample and just use one link instead of having to kind of search all over. But just because that's the first one you see does not mean there aren't other places that might have it cheaper, a size you're more interested in, better promo, etc. So yeah, I am all about sampling, not about that blind buy lifestyle ever again, for myself personally at least. And these sites have all made that possible. I'm going to do another video talking about how to get some of your money back from samples, because you can, especially in some of the Reddit places that I mentioned, you can resell these samples as long as there's at least some left and you're honest about, I sampled it this many times, or I sprayed it this many times, whatever, and you say how much it is left in it. There is a huge market. I was telling a family member about this. They were like, who would buy a fragrance that had been used? But it's like, okay, it's not like somebody's putting the bottle in their mouth or something. Like, hopefully. You never know. But yeah, so there is, and I can just say firsthand, I have sold over 1,500, like over 2,000 fragrances, decant samples online at this point, of ones that I've tried. I sampled it. I still had some left in the sample. I was, honest about the condition, how many times it had been sampled, and listed it at a good deal and stuff. And that has helped me get a lot of money back, which I can then funnel into buying more samples. So, yeah, if you have any favorites that I didn't mention too, let me know. Obviously, I'm always looking for good places to buy samples. But hopefully you have good experiences if you try any of these.